call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, gotta feel the vengeance. In my thoughts,
Welcome back, everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you like this video. Comment down below. Tell me what you think about what my hypothesis is over here. We're going to get right into it. It's going to be about the offensive line. And I think a lot of Dolphin fans are confused. We thought we would go and grab one of the right tackles. We thought we would spend a lot of money on Orlando Brown or get a Caleb McGarry or whoever it may be. And I think we need to look at it a different way. And just by the title of this video, we're going to talk about Austin Jackson. And we need to look at it differently, but also similarly to another player on this team. And you're going to be surprised who I talk about. So we'll get right into it. Right now, what I think the Dolphins are trying to do is something that we've never really done before in the past of this team. And what it is we are trying to maximize talent. I talked about this in my last video in free agency. And what it looks like we are trying to accomplish in this offseason is that we used high draft picks for Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. The problem, yes, of course, is people are going to tell me right off the bat that Austin Jackson is horrible and you know, he has shown, you know, that we can't really have confidence in him. But we need to look at it a different way. So I'm going to go to his draft profile. We'll go on NFL Network, and basically what it's going to say is that Jackson is one of the players that had a high potential, but when you're drafting him, you're getting a raw talent and you need to mold him into something special. So we'll read it right there. Early entry tackles prospect who is raw but gifted and is likely to be coveted by a variety of teams. Thanks to his true left tackle traits, Jackson has loads of athletic ability and play talent that is waiting to be developed and harvested. Inconsistent hand placement, footwork can be exploited early on if teams try and rush him into the starting lineup, which is exactly what the Dolphins did. But issues are correctable. His scheme diverse with potential guard flexibility if he improves his strength. He could become an early starter, but may offer a wider split between floor and ceiling than some teams might like. So basically what we're reading right there is that they are essentially telling you, the draft prospect analysts are telling you that Austin Jackson was a guy that you needed to mold and should not just shove into the starting lineup right off the bat, which we did. We shoved him right into the starting lineup first day that he was on the NFL field. And we're seeing that, honestly, everybody was saying to wait. We have to go back to this. So his strengths are outstanding athleticism, of course, room for additional mass and development, of course, nimble feet, flashes bend and initial pop as a drive blocker, quick to the second level to cut off blocks, rangy, rapid kick slides, and the ability to redirect against counters, athleticism, and can stand a rusher up. But the weaknesses were, and they are exactly what we're seeing on tape. And I'll get to what I'm getting at after I read all of this. So technique issues show up on tape. Footwork can be jumpy and undisciplined. Needs to improve upper body and core strength. Infrequent use of inside hands diminishes power. Lack of hand placement to sustain and steer defender. Low hands can be tardy to land first. Too much hunching forward. What it is basically saying here in his prospect profile is that he has an extreme upside, but you have to mold him into a great player. And what we need to look at is this fan base is torn on a player named Tua Tagovailoa, which was a guy that basically had almost the same profile as Austin Jackson. And what we need to look at here as well is that one of the biggest things in this fan base, half are split. Of course, half want to just throw him away, Tua I'm talking about. And half of them want to say it was a bad coaching staff. They should have waited. They should have molded him, and they should have given him more opportunity to become successful. But if you look at it, Austin Jackson, you have to look at it the same way as Tua. Austin Jackson was a guy that had a really high potential, But a lot of people were saying you need to mold him first. You can't just shove him in there and expect him to be great. There's a lot of inconsistencies that you need to teach technique-wise. And of course, what we're seeing right now is the essence of a horrible coach. Is that Brian Flores took a guy that needed a lot of work on technique, needed a lot of footwork technique, and needed a lot of like understanding of the game, and threw him and Tua right into the mix to see what they have, instead of developing the player and allowing them to show you exactly what they could be. Take a look back at weeks, I think it's 1 through 4. Look at Austin Jackson's play. Just like Tua last year. A lot of us want to sit here and say that Tua showed flashes and that's why we're keeping him, and I agree with that. But you also have to look at Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson, the beginning of this year, before the high ankle sprain, he showcased that he could be a good starter at the NFL level. Honestly, most of us fans were sitting here going, wow, I think Austin Jackson finally has it. You have to take a look at what happened, what has occurred, and what the coaching staff is trying to do. So what we have to gather from this is that Austin Jackson was put in the same type of position that Tua Tagovailoa was put in when he was starting on this team. They were thrown into the spotlight, and they didn't have time to get used to or get ready, which not every player is going to be an NFL-ready player right off the bat. It's another thing that we have to chalk up due to the Brian Flores horrid coaching experience, where honestly what happened is Austin Jackson was thrown into the mold, and he wasn't ready yet. He wasn't ready to start. You needed to keep him under the offensive line coach. You needed to allow him to develop for a year or a couple years and then put him out there. And then what you saw is that this year we got a coaching staff that was competent and allowed him to get his groove back basically from the USC days. Because a lot of people had Austin Jackson coming out as like, if you mold him, he can be one of the best offensive linemen in this draft. We saw in the first couple weeks that Austin Jackson can be good. We all saw it. You can deny it, but you got to go back to weeks 1 through 4, watch Austin Jackson play, and it was awesome. We were like, wow, he's finally getting it. He had a high ankle sprain, and the athleticism was not there anymore, and it sucks. But what we're trying to do here with the Dolphins, and what I see Chris Grier is trying to do, is just like Tua. You can't look at Tua and say the things of like, you need to get him to the point, he showed high potential, and not look at Austin Jackson and say, same exact thing. He showed that he can be really good. He showed that even in a couple years, if you keep molding him and you keep grooming him, like I said, he's going to Duke Mayweather in the offseason. This kid can be a starting right tackle, and he can be pretty good if you mold him. And that's what they saw in the beginning of the season, just like Tua, that he has a high threshold. You just have to get him there. And they believe, and sometimes in business, you have to take risks. It's not about just going and getting the player, because right now, if you mold Austin Jackson into a starting right tackle, you are good on this offensive line. Simple as that. And if you mold Austin Jackson, just like you mold Tua, you have a Super Bowl contender. And that's what they're looking at. They don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on a right tackle because they believe, just like I think this fan base needs to start believing, that Austin Jackson has the potential to be a really good starter. He showed it in the first couple weeks. Just like Tua needs to be consistent, and he needs to not get injured. And that's an if, but that's an if for every player. But what this coaching staff sees is that if they can mold these two players, they actually go hand in hand, because you essentially have Tua's right side blocker in the same position as Tua. And if you maximize both of them, you essentially have your team. That's the way that they're looking at this offensive line. So I would not expect us to get a high caliber right tackle. I believe that what they're trying to do is do everything that they possibly can this offseason to allow Jackson to maximize his potential as a right tackle. But comment down below if you think you disagree or whatever it is. But like I said, I think that's just what we're trying to do right now. I think we need to stop thinking that we're going to get this high-end right tackle and just start thinking that we think we can mold Austin Jackson based on the first couple weeks of this season, that he can be a starting right tackle. And Liam Eichenberg, we can see what we do with him. But as always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and fins up, baby. Peace.